Let's go over to the United States, like I promised. It's been fantastic games so far. Round three, of course, we saw games this morning in the NBA playoffs. The Clippers in action, the Suns in action, the Golden State Warriors, of course, the Philadelphia 76ers also in action. And to break down all of the action over there in the NBA playoffs in the US, we have Precious Favour joining us today to discuss all of the matters arising over there from the United States. Let's start with the Golden State Warriors. Steph Curry, of course, carrying the team on his back again and leading them to a well-deserved victory in the early hours of this morning. Precious.
Yeah, that was a very, very great win for the Golden State Warriors. Much needed, if you ask me, after going 2 down to the Sacramento Kings. But that man, the All Star himself, Steph Curry, came up with 36 points. And do not forget that the Golden State Warriors were without their All Star defender, Draymond Green. So it was a very, very important win for the Golden State Warriors. Steph Curry shot 6 of 12 from behind the arc. That's 50% from three. They also had a very, very good game from Kevin Looney, who came up with 9 offensive rebounds. The Sacramento Kings, they gave you their all. De'Aaron Fox came up with 26 points, but it was not enough. They were daring him to shoot from the 3 point line, and it was difficult for him. They made it very tough for the Sacramento Kings. So the Warriors are back in this series now. It's now 2-1.
Sacramento Kings quickly. Their coach Mike Brown has been named the coach of the regular season, and the Kings obviously led by De'Aaron Fox, who was second in scoring yesterday in that game against Golden State Warriors, had a fantastic regular season in the NBA, and they of course started the first round of the playoffs very well. How good are the Kings, and how far do you think they're going to go? Because if they do get the results in Game 4, then we might have an upset on the cards, maybe.
Yeah, the Kings are very good, but it will be difficult for them to get the results in game four because this Kings side is a very good offensive side. They are the best offense in the NBA, but they are 10th in defense. So they are not a very good defensive side. So, and I expect that the Golden State Warriors is going to exploit that their defensive frailties, those errors that they make on the defensive end of the floor. I expect the Golden State Warriors to do that. They were at home in the first two series, and the Golden State Warriors throughout this season they have been bad away from home. But at the Oracle, it's very difficult to go to the Oracle and defeat the Golden State Warriors, especially in a playoff game. So I don't expect them to do that. This series, I believe, will be tied to going back to Sacramento.
Yeah, but I mean, when you consider that the Kings have had the opportunity to start the series at home, doesn't that mean that the Kings, if it goes down to Game 7, will have Game 7 at home also, right?
Yeah, they'll have the home court advantage at home if it goes down to game seven. But what I see about series like this is I expect this team with the best players to always win. In NBA series, it has always been like that. It's only on rare occasions that it doesn't happen. So I expect the likes of Steph Curry to at least steal one game in Sacramento. So this series, I believe, will be tied to going back to Sacramento, and I expect the Golden State Warriors to bounce back because they are the well experienced side. They are the defending champions, and the Sacramento Kings are just making the playoffs for the first time in 19 years. And most of these their star players are not experienced playoff players. So I expect that experience to kick in because if this series is tied 2-2, then the pressure is now back on the Sacramento Kings to protect home court.
All right, let's see how that pans out because absolutely, like you said, they would have to protect home court if Golden State Warriors goes on to tie the series in Game 4. Still left to be seen, of course, Game 3, the Golden State Warriors clawing one back, 2-1 now in favor of the Kings. Again, De'Aaron Fox, I mean, he's one of my favorite players in the NBA. And it didn't disappoint.
Yeah.
Did play well, but it just wasn't enough. Let's go over to Phoenix, where Devin Booker was the star of the show, ran the court, and of course, top scored in what was a very, very interesting matchup. How did you see that game?
It was a very clearly contested game. I was very surprised. No, the world was surprised, not only I myself, because before the game, the news came out that their all-star in Kawhi Leonard will be missing the game. Don't forget, the LA Clippers are already without Paul George. Now, Kawhi Leonard was out of yesterday's game, so it was a very difficult ask for the LA Clippers yesterday, and they gave it their all. They lost by only 5 points to the Phoenix Suns, who had Kevin Durant, who gave us 28 points. Then the man you were talking about, Devin Booker, he did not disappoint yesterday. He went and dropped 45 points in the Crypto.com arena. So it was a very good one. Although Norman Powell gave us 42 points for the Clippers, Russell Westbrook gave us 30 points, but it was not enough for the LA Clippers yesterday. And the Phoenix Suns stole one game away from home. They stole one.
All right. So I'm going to ask you the same question I asked about the Sacramento Kings. The Suns, I mean, I think are favorites in this series. I mean, I know that Clippers do have a lot of people who sympathize with them, who like them. I think the Suns are favorite coming into this, especially with the kind of injuries that the likes of Kawhi Leonard and of course Paul George missing for the Clippers. Just how good are the Suns? We've seen them flirt with success a little bit in recent seasons, but just how good are they this season? The roster that they have right now, do you think they're good enough to go all the way?
This roster of the Suns is not deep, but because of the shot making ability that is on this Suns roster, they have two, three level scorers. That is, people that can score from behind the arc, the 3 point line, from inside the arc, the mid range, and at the
And in
rim
the
in
paint.
Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. They also have the point guard in Chris Paul. So this team is a very well experienced team. And we know how good Kevin Durant is, the sniper, as his nickname implies. He's a very good player. So what the Clippers are doing a very good job of doubling Kevin Durant, making it difficult for him. But doubling Kevin Durant, they are leaving Devin Booker to go one on one, and he's feeding on this Clippers defense because the double team is always coming for Kevin Durant, leaving Devin Booker alone. That's why he dropped 45. And Durant, no matter how tough you make it for him, he's still going to give you at least 30 points. So that's to tell you that this Sunside is a very good team. No matter the defensive coverage that you try to come at these guys are they are elite shot makers, the likes of Kevin Durant, the likes of Devin Booker. And they also have the point guard himself, Chris Paul. Although the problem with Chris Paul is aging, he's old, and he always has these nagging injuries when the playoffs come around. So let's see how far he can take them.
But again, so my question is, if they're able to keep CP3 fit, right, Chris Paul, and like you said,
Yes.
the double threat that they have with Kevin Durant and of course Devin Booker will drop 45 this morning. So who can stop them? That's because I think that they're wild cards in this playoffs leading up to the finals. I think that, and that's why I mentioned their roster. I think that their starting five, when you look at the different qualities that they possess, if they keep Chris Paul fit, they're going to be one of the most difficult teams to defend against.
Yeah, they are going to be the most difficult team to defend. And the only team, there is no team that can stop them in the West, in my opinion. It's only the Boston Celtics that is the East. That is in the East. That's the best team in the East, in my opinion. The Boston Celtics, because they are playing very good defense. They also have the double threat themselves in Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown. They can switch everything on defense. They can stretch the floor. They can do everything. Don't forget what they did to Kevin Durant last season when he was on the Brooklyn Nets, where they swept Kevin Durant and the Brooklyn Nets. So that's the only team I feel that can pose a very serious threat to this Phoenix Suns team.
All right, finally, on the games that we saw this morning, the Philadelphia 76ers also in action. How did you see that?
That game was a lot of questionable calls from the referee. Joel Embiid kicked uh, Nick Claxton in the groin because he was trying to step over him. The referee gave him a flagrant one, and he was supposed to be ejected because how do you kick someone in the groin? Then James Harden was ejected for making a basketball play. I don't think he deserved to be ejected for that kind of play, but Tyrese Maxey came to the rescue for the 76ers yesterday because Joel Embiid was not having it yesterday. But thank God for Tyrese Maxey. He dropped 25 points. And before James Harden was kicked out of the game, he also dropped 25 points. Joel Embiid just gave them 14 points. He wasn't at it for the 76ers yesterday. That yesterday game just showed us that the 76ers are too much for the Brooklyn Nets to handle. They are too much for them. They are the better side.
And clearly, we both expect that the 76ers would wrap up the series before Game 7.
Yeah, either a sweep or a gentleman's sweep. Maybe the Brooklyn Nets can take one game at home, then it will end in Philly. That's 4-1. Maybe a gentleman's sweep. That's what I predict for this series.
All right, Precious predicting 4-1 for the series in favor of the 76ers. Generally, as I wrap up with you this evening. How's the NBA playoffs been for you? The Lakers started off very well. The Lakers, of course, sneaked into the NBA playoffs with some end of season from after All Star weekend. I think we spoke during All Star weekend, if I'm not mistaken. We're
Yeah.
talking about how the Lakers needed to get at least 15 victories out of their last 23 or 24 games, if I'm not mistaken, and they've somehow found a way to pull the chestnut out of the fire. They also started well against the Grizzlies, although the last game not so good for them. But how far do you think they're going to go? Of course, a lot of eyes on them because there's LeBron James there. Of course, it's the Lakers. It's one of the most popular franchises in the NBA. So we have to talk about them. Over there in their conference, how far do you think the Lakers have it in them to go?
I believe they will make it past this first round of the playoffs. Then after this first round, I don't expect them to go further. The fortunes of the Lakers changed thanks to their general manager Rob Pelinka. After the trade deadline, he made a lot of key changes to the roster. So Westbrook he went and added shooters and brought a point guard. He added Jared Vanderbilt, Malik Beasley, brought in Mobamba, brought in D'Angelo Russell. As in this team brought in Rui Hachimura, who has been very pivotal for the
Yeah, in
Lakers in this
playoffs.
playoff. So this
Yep.
roster it was a very big shakeup for the Lakers, and we can see what is going on right now. The improvement from Austin Reeves, Anthony Davis has been able to stay healthy. LeBron James came back from injury, and they were able to sneak into the playoffs. So it was a very good one for the Lakers. But I believe they will get past the Memphis Grizzlies because the Memphis Grizzlies are missing two very important pieces in Steven Adams and their backup center I can't remember his name right now. So they are missing two key pieces. So I expect the Lakers to take care of business against the Memphis Grizzlies. But going into the second round to be very difficult for them.
All right. So your predictions: which teams do you think will be playing in the conference finals? Just from what you've seen in the first three rounds of games.
For the Western Conference, I'll go with the Phoenix Suns against the Denver Nuggets.
Okay.
Then, while for the Eastern Conference, I'll go with the Milwaukee
Boston.
Bucks against the Boston Celtics.
All right. Obviously, I mean that's a game that I think is befitting of the NBA finals. Will be. I mean, let's say it pans out. Let's see how well both teams do leading up to the conference finals. But obviously, and definitely, we will be having you join us again to talk about that before the finals, before the conference finals, and of course as we build up to determine who is champion of the NBA for the 2022-2023 season. Thank you very much, Precious Favour, for joining
Thank
us
you for
on
having
Plus
me.
Sports on Plus TV.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
All right, fantastic. Precious, of course, breaking down all of the action from the NBA with us right here on the show. If you don't follow basketball, if you don't follow the NBA, it's one of the most interesting sports in the world. A lot of people ask me, what's interesting about this? It's the same way, a lot of, Americans, people who are more tuned to American sport, traditional American sports, question, or why do you guys like soccer, right? But you find out that when you dip your minds into all of these, puddings that, you haven't tried before, explore new things, you see that there's a lot of excitement to savour. And of course, I am here preaching the gospel of the NBA, like I always do. I've been preaching the gospel of Formula One. I have a lot of disciples now, and I do hope that I get more people on our side following basketball, both locally and internationally. Unfortunately, on the local front, not many things are happening. There's been a back and forth tussle with regards to the management and administration of the Nigerian Basketball Federation, the NBBF, for the last 5-6 years or thereabouts. It seems like it has been settled a little bit, but unfortunately, all of the issues with the Minister of Sports last year, and of course, pulling Nigeria out of the qualifiers meant that we were replaced for the World Cup, and our national teams are not going to be participating in any of the major competitions that are coming very soon. Really unfortunate for us, but of course we do have the NBA to continue to enjoy some great basketball.